Hello,
What's up,
Rodney.
Jamal? You came ready. You came in your Laker gear. You came ready to have a conversation.
I know I'm the only one represented over here.
You
I
are
got I
truly
got Lake
represent.
I got Lakers on the wall too.
I see you. Oh, I see your Lakers in the background. Yes.
So it's not props.
There you
All right,
go.
but but I gotta give you props. So speaking of props, to look at all the great work you've done as a writer. When you look at the projects you made, from Everybody Hates Chris to Boondocks, to your newest one of your newest projects that I really fell in love with was WuTang American Saga.
Thank you.
I really just am enamored by the work you create.
Thank
And
you.
I gotta ask, like, what went behind doing this story now?
For me, what basketball has become to where you have how socially integrated the players are in the NBA today versus when I used to watch the game back in the day. Like, when they were in the bubble during the George Floyd, Black Lives Matter movements, the players really had a lot of power. And if you look at where we start, even with this show, they didn't have the same voice. And you had certain outliers like Kareem and Spencer Haywood and those guys. But for the most part, they played the game. But you could see it starting to bubble up to where that individuality and that thing was coming out. And that was intriguing to me. Unfortunately, I'm old enough to have seen a lot of bad basketball TV shows and movies, and to where the players themselves were reduced to one-dimensional caricatures. It was either that's the funny one, that's the one that's going to get arrested, and the story itself is about the coach or the owner or someone else. And it was important to me, especially since you have these iconic players. You got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you got Magic Johnson, you got Norm Nixon, you got guys who people remember, that if we were going to tell the story, it's not just a story of them as basketball players, it's stories of them as human beings. It's about the human experience. And being able to write from that place, being someone who loves the game, played it at a relatively low level, but loved it nonetheless, that was an honor.
Yeah. I look back at your career and you speak highly of the way that Damon Wayans kind of like gave you like a kind of ushered you through your some of your early career moves. How have you been able to return that favor to young writers, young producers in the industry? Have you been able to take anybody in your wing and kind of like show them the ropes?
Yeah, more on a macro level. I think with Damon, it was certainly of its time because there was no internet at that time. There was a lot of things. The world was a completely different place. And, Damon gave me information. That was the most beautiful thing he could ever have given me. And I try to impart the same. If there's something, if a writer or young writer, young producer, whatever, if they have a question, if they have something that I can help them with, if it's someone who's really, really close to getting here and there's something that I see, I try to do the same thing that was done for me. And I know a lot of other folks that are doing the same thing as well. So yeah, man, it's like a community. We all have to rise and tide lifts all boats.
Oh, like in the sports arena, you're also working on Untitled Tiger Woods project.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious because after seeing WuTang American Saga, all I could think about was Outkast. I'm curious if have you thought about getting involved in another story such as Wu-Tang and telling the story of some of these hip hop groups that's meant a lot to a culture or to a region like Outkast would to Wu-Tang?
Yeah, I think it's always what's under the story. It's like when you can find a unique journey, like Wu-Tang had this unique thing where, not only were they being braggadocious, but they got into the Shaolin thing, movies, comic books. They were doing things that were revolutionary during that period of time. And that was the thing that sort of made them unique. Like their music sort of, for me, stood out amongst everybody else who was just talking about, sneakers and gold chains and I got more girls than you or whatever. These guys had a different level of creativity. And I think RZA is a genius. That's just, my opinion. And so in finding folks who are like that, I'm always interested in telling those types of stories. And it's always getting to know the person and the story and something that connects to me.
when I think about like my wife and kids, and even Everybody Hates Chris, those were kind of like the black shows of those eras of those seasons. And right now we're in an era of streaming where we see more stories with people like us, more themes that we never covered. And I wonder, as you as a creative, how does it feel to be in this era where there's so many networks? I know you have an overall deal at HBO, but there's so many networks that are eager to tell all of these different stories that before would have been a hard pitch to get through.
I think it's a beautiful period of time. I think the part of it that I'm most optimistic about is that at the EP showrunner creator level, you have more Black folks telling stories about the Black experience, whereas before that wasn't always the case. So it feels different. Like, even though, you know, a Black family is a Black family is a Black family, but there's so many different dimensions that you can tell it through the mom's point of view. And if you have a Black woman there who gets it, she can tell that in a completely different way than another Black family story. And to be able to just sort of tell a fully dimensional rendition of what it is to be part of a Black family in various shapes and sizes, to me, is the thing that I'm really, really, really optimistic about across the board, not just with family stories. I love what Jordan Peele's doing in sci-fi and horror, Ava DuVernay, so many. I could sit here for the next hour and just rattle off names of folks that I'm a fan of, because they're taking the stories, they're taking command of the stories and of the culture and moving it ahead. I think it's a really exciting time.
I get your top 5 Lakers of all time.
Magic, Kobe, then no order. Magic, Kobe, Kareem, Shaq. I'm going to say, did I say Worthy already? Did I say James Worthy? I'm going to say James Worthy. And then I was going to put Smush Parker. Just joking. But yeah, and I guess LeBron, even though I don't necessarily look at LeBron as a Laker in the same way, because he came in a different way, you know, it's like, yes, as talent-wise, you would have to put LeBron in there, but they drafted James Worthy. You know, he came up through the system and became a Hall of Famer in that way.
Yeah.
It's almost like now, to me, LeBron is a hired gun in a way.
Yeah.
Where he's going, he already said, you know, I'm going where Bronny goes. And so it's like, would Kobe have said that, you know, out loud? Yeah. Would Kareem have said that? I don't know. Still love the brother, love his game. But when you're talking Laker basketball, I like to go from the inside out.
Well, look, man, I hope you take me under your wing, man. I'm an aspiring producer.
Hit me up.
What you do.
Hit me up.
I'm going to reach out to you. I got some projects I want to work on with you, brother. Thank you.
Hit me up, Jamal. I'm easy to find.
All right, brother. Thank you for that.
Man. Appreciate you.